And the angel of the Lord called unto him out of heaven and said, Abraham, Abraham. And he said, Here am I. And he said, Lay not thy hand upon the lad, neither do thou anything unto him. For now I know this place was where the Lord found Abraham complete in the instruction. Remember the previous verse we read in Hebrews chapter 11. That even when it was the only begotten son that the Lord asked him to go and sacrifice, he knew that God is able even to raise another. If the Lord should provide one at 100, even if he is 150 or 300, God can still raise another one. He has that belief. So this was a trial to Abraham. This was a trial to Abraham. You know, a man that walked with God. And when he was 75 years, the Lord told him to leave his father's house, his country, and his kindred. And he followed. When he was 100, the Lord promised him a son. He had a son. And the Lord asked him again that only one kill. That only one kill. That only one kill. The two chapters showed us that where there is true faith in God, that the two chapters or the verse we read revealed to us that we should have true faith in God. That faith will always be tried. Our faith will always be tried and tested. And there are three ways or three dimensions through which our faith will be tested. Number one is the measure of faith testing. The measure of faith testing. How much is faith tested? It is so clear that some are tested more than others. Your test might not be the same as my own. Your own trial might not be the same as the person sitting beside you. There is measure to which all of us can bear. And that's why 1 Corinthians is telling us that the Lord will not test you with a trial that you will not be able to bear. For example, not all are tested the same extent as Abraham. Not everybody are tested the same way as Job or Paul. See, the yardstick to the degree of trials you receive is the measure of your faith. Remember that he taught us about the measures of faith. When we get home, let's read Mark chapter 4 verse 40. Matthew chapter 6 verse 30. Matthew chapter 17 verse 20. Luke 17 verse 5. And Luke 7 verse 9. All these verses of the scriptures talk about different measures of faith. So your trial will come directly proportional to the degree of your faith. The measure of your faith will come. Your trial, the measure of your trial will come directly proportional to the measure of your faith. If you say you have grace, so it will bring to you that same proportion you can bear. You can imagine if the last instruction God gave Abraham to kill Isaac was the first he gave him. Do you think faith will be counted as righteousness for Abraham? I tell you no. Number two is the manner of faith testing. The manner. This simply means how faith is tested. This differs from person to person. How your faith is tested is different from your own, is different from my own. To some people, it comes as a result of their emotions. You know, to Abraham, the Lord asked him to kill the only begotten son. the son I have waited on God for. It was his emotion God was trying to play with. But he was able to deal with it. To some, it might be their body. No, tribulations will come, afflictions will come that will touch your body. People like Paul. No, Paul was beaten. His trial came and people beat him. Some of us, if they beat us one time, out of the numerous, they beat Paul. You will say, who sent me? Is it this faith? Because of this faith, you are beating me like this? Who could take your faith? But that was his own trial. And the reason why you are not beaten is because the Lord knows you cannot bear beating. No. Paul can bear it. So everywhere he was going, they are beating him. He was suffering. He can bear it. But you might not be able to bear it. Even you cannot bear it. It's not might. So that's why you are not facing that. Sometimes it comes as a result of loss of possession. Sometimes it comes as a disruption to your laid down plans. You know, you have planned, I'll do this, I'll do this, I'll do this. And God will come to try you. He just disrupts it. He just removes something in the middle. And everything came down crumbling. And the Lord is waiting for your response in that situation. You have planned it out. You have your master plan. Plan A, plan B, and plan C. But where the Lord struck in order to test your faith is at the center of it all. Where you hinge all your A, B, and C. You know, you cannot plan A, B, and C and not have a central point where all of them will meet. There is no way. So where you hinge it, that's where God took it from. And you are disorganized. That might be your trial of faith. That might be the manner in which God is trying your faith. We need to know that test of faith is always for God's glory and also for our good. Trial of faith is always for God's glory and for our good. Your part is to rejoice in the truth of Job chapter 23 verse 10. Job chapter 23 verse 10, there is a truth in Job chapter 23 verse 10. When you are facing that trial, you need to rejoice in the joy that comes from Job chapter 23 verse 10. But he knoweth the way that I take. When he had tried me, I shall come forth as gold. Your joy should be that even when I'm passing that thing, when the whole world looks as if it's coming down upon me, I will come out as gold. I know I will come out. I know I will come out. I know I will come out. And number three dimension of testing our faith is the meaning of faith testing. The meaning of faith testing. No, many questions we ask is, why does God test our faith? Why does God test our faith? Listen, there is a sense in which faith must never ask why. When you are exercising faith and you are asking why, that is no longer faith. Because in faith, you must obey. When God told Abraham to leave his family, imagine he was asking God why. Will that be counted for him as righteousness? When the Lord asked Abraham, go and kill your son, and he was asking God, why? No, when you are being faced with test of faith, you are not to ask God why. There is a sense in which faith must never ask why, because faith trusts the Lord and leaves the why to him. Faith trusts the Lord and leaves the reason for that testing to God. He knows the reason why you are being tested. So leave that reason to him. Leave the reasons to him. What are the reasons God tests us as we round up? Reasons why God tests people. Number one, to prove the genuineness of our faith. The Lord will push trials to you to prove if what you are professing is genuine. Genesis chapter 22, verse 1 and verse 12. To increase the measure of our faith is another reason God will push trials to you. See, the reason why some of us are still standing at a point, battling with a situation over and over, is because you have not passed the trial you are into. Okay, I remember this again. I left secondary school, again, admission, and I was looking for mathematics. You know, I have hated mathematics since GSS 1. But they used to think I know mathematics. Because GSS 1 to SS 3, I will not fail maths. You been out to cram. No worry. Now, waiting you teach me, I go write down. But I knew I did not know mathematics. SS2 taught them when I was preparing for external exam. And I was seeing why mathematics. I was like, do they teach us this thing too? Are you sure we treated this topic? And it was looking as if it was magic. That's when I knew. So I was trying to have mathematics. And I was writing mathematics exam. I'll write external. I have a small body. I'll go and wear uniform again. I will write. And I'm determined. I will not cheat. I'm determined. I will not collect expo. And every time I am to write again, you know, when I write now, I will fail. And I will say, God, you said I should go and write this exam. And I have failed again. Why? And the Lord will tell me, Tosin, go and collect the form again. Lord, will I pass? He said, yes, you will pass. And I will write again. I will fail. And I was doing that for 5 times. So, the 6th time, I was at the exam hall writing mathematics. And I was so fidgeting. I was so anxious. And I said, Lord, this is the 6th time. Whatever it is, it is. If I fail, I fail. If I pass, I pass. I'll just write whatever I know. And that time, the result came and I passed. And I was rejoicing, appreciating God. And the Lord told me again, do you know why you passed? I said no. The Lord said, every time you are to go and write the exam, you will ask me. I will assure you of success. But you are always anxious. And I have determined, I need to teach you to rest on me. It will take you 10 years to learn resting on me. You will keep on repeating. I say, God, you have told me. From the beginning, you should have told me that all you need to do to pass mathematics is to rest on me. And I will stay glued. I take one thing. The reason why you are still facing that thing is still because you have not passed that class. And you cannot increase in the measure of faith if you do not pass that class. So stay calm with God. Learn all you need to learn. And move to the next stage. To secure The preciousness of faith. 1 Peter chapter 1 verse 7. To produce the fruit of faith. That's another reason God tests our faith. And lastly, to use the testimony that comes from it. There is a testimony that comes from your faith. There is a testimony that comes from the trials of your faith. A testimony. There is a testimony that comes from it. So God is interested in that testimony because of somebody else. So because of that person, the Lord will try you. So that when you are sharing your testimony, it will be a reference. It will be an encouragement. It will be an anchor for someone not to faint, not to get weary. The Lord will test your faith. So in the face of trial, you are laughing. It's prayer now. Yes, now. Remember, if the Lord do not test it, you cannot go to the next class. So, no, wait. How can you imagine that, okay, Ziv is going to school. They brought report card. And I was like, this is report card. They showed me the script. And it was saying that he did not want to write exam. What is he doing in school if he don't want to write exam? So trials, tests, examinations cannot be taken out of students. So the Lord must try your faith. And I'm sure that he has given you all it takes to bear it. I know that. And I pray in the name of Jesus, the Lord will help you not to faint in the name of Jesus. 2 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 23 to 28. Let's read these scriptures as a round up. 2 Corinthians 11, 23 to 28. Are they ministers of Christ? I speak as a fool. I am more. In labors more abundant. In stripes above measure. In prisons more frequent. This is somebody's testimony. Let's follow somebody's testimony. Are they ministers of Christ? I speak as a fool. I am more. In labors more abundant. In stripes above measures. In prisons more frequent. In debt often. Of the Jews 5 times received, I 40 stripes, save one. Thrice was I beaten with rods. Once was I stoned. Thrice I suffered shipwreck. A night and a day I have been in the deep. This is somebody's testimony about his trials. The trials is faced on the faith he professed. And you are saying the Lord is calling you into the mission field. That is calling you into the mission field. And they say, Boko Haram is coming. You say, no, don't take me there. Those are not my mission field. And they say you will suffer. I say, no, my own gospel is not for suffering. This is somebody's testimony. He suffered all these things for God. In journeys, often in perils of waters, in perils of robbers, in perils by my own countrymen, in perils by the heathen, in perils in the city, in perils in the wilderness, in perils in the sea, in perils among false brethren. 27. In weariness and painfulness, in watchings often, in hunger and thirst, in fastings often, in cold and nakedness. Beside those things that are without, that which cometh upon me daily, the care of all the churches. Was saying that for all the churches, he was suffering all these things for Christ. Philippians chapter 1 verse 12. Let's check another person's testimony. Philippians chapter 1 verse 12. But I would ye should understand, brethren, that the things which happen unto me are falling out rather unto the furtherance of the gospel. That all those things I have mentioned, they are for the furtherance of the gospel. Acts chapter 16, 22 to 25. Acts 16, 22 to 25. And the multitude rose up together against them, and the magistrate rent off their clothes and commanded to beat them. 23. And when they had laid many stripes upon them, they cast them into prisons, charging the jailer to keep them safely. Who, having received such a charge, thrust them into the inner prison and made their feet fast in the stocks. And at midnight, Paul and Silas prayed and sang praises unto God, and the prisoners heard them. I close with this question. In the face of tribulation, what is your neighbor hearing from you? During your days of trial, what is the song you are echoing to men? What is the song you are singing to men? What are we hearing from you? Paul and Silas are men of like passion. In their own time, all they could do is sing praises, having the assurance that they are facing their tests and trials. Because you profess this faith, it is sure trials will come. Even before you profess the faith, because first you are in this world, trials and temptations will come. Say, in this world, ye shall see tribulations. Of my testing period prematurely. Getting out prematurely can only mean you repeating the class again. And who knows, you might be on the 99th stage before you quit. You might just be one step to success before you bolt out. Tell God, Lord, help me not to quit. Help me not to quit. Can you declare, Lord, help me not to quit?
Jẹ́ kí n lè bá ọ rìn bó ti tọ́ àti bó ti yẹ. Jẹ́ kí n lè bá ọ rìn bó ti tọ́ àti bó ti yẹ. Jẹ́ kí n lè bá ọ rìn bó ti tọ́ àti bó ti yẹ. Jẹ́ kí n lè bá ọ rìn bó ti tọ́ àti bó ti yẹ. For those who don't understand Yoruba, that song means, help me to be able to walk with you as I ought to and as I should, as you expect me to with you. Help me to be able to walk with you accurately as I ought to. And we thank God for that word that we just received from Minister Tosin. It's simple enough. And I'm just trusting that God would help us to have the right perspective to serving and walking with Him. While he was ministering, it just kept coming to my heart that it's actually a perspective issue. When we see trials for what they really are, then we have the capacity to embrace them and accept them. The Bible says in 1 Peter chapter 1 verse 6, verse 7 there says that the purpose of trials is to test the genuinity of faith. That the genuineness of your faith, being much more precious than gold that perishes, though it is tested by fire, may be found to praise, honor, and glory at the revelation of Christ. When Christ is revealed to you, when you see Christ for who he is, when you see the working of the Spirit, when you see what God is actually trying to accomplish in your heart, it will give you a shift in perspective. You know, I use my parents as examples a lot, probably because, of course, they are like the oldest people I've been close to. I mean, when I say the oldest, I've been close to other people's, couples rather. But in the class of length of time, they are the oldest. When our firstborn passed in 2014, it was on a Thursday, I remember. And Thursday is usually for Bible study. And we got the news in the morning that he had passed.